My mother has a really strange way of getting ready for things. Uh, she also has a very unhealthy obsession with windows and blinds. You know how normal people, when they get ready for a storm, they close all the windows? No, 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 no. My mom's the opposite. She comes in and opens all the fucking windows in the house, every single one, because it's cooler now that the storm is coming. And then she flips the fuck out when it starts raining. Why do you do that to yourself? It makes no sense. It's gonna rain. Close the windows. No. Also, blinds. Like, if you have one blind flicked the wrong way, she will flip the fuck out and she will come in and she'll have to fix everything. And it's just like, oh, why? And, you know, they have to come up and down like 15 times a day. And she'll just come in, she'll like knock you over. Like, no, I gotta play with your blinds. Oh, I need the blinds. I need them. I'm also thoroughly convinced that it is her prerogative in life to open the window in any room that I may or may not drop trow in. So like the bathroom, it'll be like 2 degrees outside in the middle of winter. It's fucking snowing outside. She'll open all the windows right before I take a shower. I'm like, why? I gotta get naked in here. It's cold. Or in my room, she'll just like burst in every once in a while and be like, ha, and throw the windows open. Actually, she did that one night and she was like, ha, because she forgot to unlock one side of the window. So one of my windows is broken because of her unhealthy obsession with windows and blinds.
When someone meets my family, they inevitably ask, "How are you, you?" Why is that, you ask? Have I got a story for you?
Don't know if any of you guys and gals suffer from this, but my mother doesn't like to tell people what they're doing. It's actually like a common theme in my family. You don't tell people what you're doing until you're like just about to go. And fuck them if they have plans. Then you gotta be mad at them because you didn't tell them. But they made plans without knowing that you had plans for them because you didn't tell them you had plans for them. So you get really pissed off for no reason. And that's how everyone in my family is. What do you mean you can't come away with me for a week? I planned this without you! That's legitimately the conversation I have with my family pretty much when we have to do anything. And you can't ask about it. Like, sometimes I'll see like in the dining room, my mom will like leave an itinerary open for a trip, and I'll be like, "Is this a trip that I'm coming with you on?" And she'd be like, "Ah!" and then walk out of the room, and I'll be like, "Oh, okay. I don't know what the ah was for. If that was meaning yes, and I was supposed to know psychically that this trip was for me, or it was a no because you're angry. I don't know where you're going with this." And I have one particular story that was great. All right, so my cousin was getting married, and he got engaged, and he had an engagement party, and he sent out invitations. And I saw we got a letter from my cousin. I didn't know what it was for, but I always go get the mail, so I brought it in. Whatever. Mom reads it, doesn't say anything to me. Whatever. Time passes, time passes, time passes. I know he got engaged. Time passes, time passes, time passes. It's time for the engagement party, but I don't know about it because no one told me about the letter. So at, I'm going to say, probably 11:30, the night before the engagement party, my mom comes into my room. She opens the door. She's like, "Hey, you got to be ready in the morning." And she's like, "Go to sleep early. You got to be ready in the morning for us to leave." And I'm like, "Huh? Leave for what?" And she looks at me and she goes, "You know what? Be ready." And I'm like, "Are you shipping me off to war? I don't know what," which is why I asked. But the asking infuriates my family. How dare you not know what I'm thinking? As if what I think is what normal people think, because it's not. As you might have guessed by now, it's not. It's not at all. So it escalates, and I'm like, "Well, what time do I have to be ready for this thing that I'm going to?" And she's like, "We're leaving by 11." And I'm like, "Okay. I mean, you don't really have to tell me to get up by 11. I'm probably going to be up by 11 anyway. Like, whatever. Is it a special occasion?" And she looks at me. There's like flames in her eye sockets, and she goes, "They bought you dinner!" And I'm like, "That was very nice of them. I don't know who you're talking about or what you plan on doing, but that was nice of them to buy me dinner. So what's happening here?" And then my mom's just like, rah! And she closes my door and stomps off to bed. And I'm like, what? And when I get there, my cousins are like, oh, hey, what's up? And as we're leaving, I'm like, hey, can you guys like send me a message or something next time you do something? Because I didn't know your engagement party was today until 11:30 last night when mom came and screamed at me that somebody bought me dinner and I had to go. And yeah, thanks. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, what? I think their family is slightly less dysfunctional than my own. Maybe a little bit, maybe. So for most of my, like almost all my school years, no, pretty much all my school years. Well, I'm gonna say from first grade to eighth grade, I went to Sunday school, and believe me, it was not my choice. But from like first grade to like, I don't know, when do you think normal kids, well, normal kids. I didn't have an alarm clock growing up. I didn't need one. Like I just woke up, or my family would come in and scream at me. And for most of that time that I went to Sunday school, we had the same routine every Sunday. Every Sunday, my mom would come into my room screaming 2 minutes before church. Now, mind you, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have an alarm clock. There was no way for me to wake up unless somebody else woke me up. And my mother would come in 2 minutes before church, before we were supposed to leave. Well, my family's always late, so probably like 2 minutes before church. My mom would come into my room. She'd slam the sliding sliding door closed. That, you know, my sister She-Hulk, when my sister She-Hulked it off the track, that was still the track because it's my old house. So she would slam the door closed and be like, "Get up, we gotta go! You're late!" And that's how I would get woken up every Sunday. That was just the routine. And then she would be so mad that I wouldn't have enough time to get ready. And I'd be like, why didn't you wake me up sooner if you knew we were gonna, if I had to get, like, I don't understand why it's my fault that you chose to wake me up 2 minutes before we had to go somewhere to this thing that I didn't want to go to, ever. Like, they say, I know in my experience, at least personally, if someone tries to force me to do something, I don't want to do it. Even if it's something I liked previously, once I'm forced to do it, I think this is true of a lot of people. When you're forced to do something, you don't want to do it anymore. So my family was like, "You don't believe in God! God, God, God!" And I was like, "No, I don't. I'm not. I don't. Sorry." But my mom thought if I went to, you know, Sunday school and church, they'd be able to be like, "God, God, God!" And I believe, but I don't. I don't. Because when you're forced to do something, you don't want to do it. Like, not even religion or anything. And when I was in college, my plan was, because I started learning Japanese in high school, my plan was to learn Japanese until I felt competent in it. And then I'd move on to Korean and then Chinese. Because supposedly Korean is the easiest of the three. And then Japanese is hard to read, easy to speak. And Chinese is easy to read, hard to speak. And I felt like Chinese would be the hardest one to learn. And it is. Most definitely the hardest one to learn. And so I was like, well, my plan was I was going to learn Japanese and then Korean and then Chinese. And I was like learning a little bit of Chinese on the side because I was outside vice president. If you could tell how insulated the Chinese students are at my school by that, I was the outside vice president because I dealt with, you can't say foreigners because the Chinese kids were the foreigners, but I was to deal with the non-Chinese. That was my role in the club, to help them come in and deal with their activities and what have you. So like I had a lot of Chinese friends at school, and I was learning Chinese from them and with them, and it was great. And then I got to a point in college where to graduate, I needed to have 2 years of a language, and they didn't have an, what is it? What's the third level? Let's see, there's elementary, intermediate, and advanced. They didn't have advanced. So I was shit out of luck and I needed to take a language. So I was forced to take Chinese classes. And from then on, I was just like, fuck this shit. I don't want to learn this. So it's not even like just religion. It's pretty much anything. You can't force me to want to learn something. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's got to be something I want to do. So I, went to Sunday school because I was forced. And went to church because I was forced. My mom told me that when I graduated from high school, I'd be old enough to choose whether or not I should continue to go to church, which is really stupid. I don't think that that's true. I'm pretty sure early on in life if you're going to be like, I believe, or if you're going to be like, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure there's not like an age you get to where you're like, I choose to believe, or I choose not to. I mean, I know there's like a draft in war, but I'm pretty sure spiritual is not the same as, being drafted to war or shit like that. So it was a little weird. So we get to the end of high school, and I'm like, I don't want to go to church. And she's like, no, you're not an adult yet. You're going to go until you're 18. And I was like, I don't think that's how religion should work. I'm just going to put that out there. But I don't think you should be forced to go until you're old enough to choose. Like, I'm pretty sure early on you realize where your spiritual allegiances lie. I'm just saying. So I was forced to go to church for all that time, and now I'm like, get that shit away from me. I don't want that. I don't want that ever. One of the things I've been speaking to my friends about a lot lately, because everyone's getting married and having kids, is like, I don't think that you should have a kid if you're banking on getting lucky with how they turned out. Like, I consider myself, I'm a kid that got lucky with how I turned out. And you know how like, woo I am. I got lucky compared to my family because I could have been like the favorite child. I could have been like my mom, or I could have been like the Banshee, but I'm not for some reason. So I consider myself as the kid who got lucky and turned out okay. Most of my life I wasn't okay, but like since college, I've been pretty okay. I think you guys can probably see that too. Like I'm okay as a person. I turned out fine for the most part. Still a little cuckoo, but that's to be expected. Nobody's perfect. So I've been having a conversation a lot with my friends about how I don't think you should have kids if you're banking on getting lucky with how they turn out. And like I've been having a lot of talks about like, oh, we have friends that are, somewhat crazy, and when they have kids, we're like, oh, those kids are gonna be super crazy, and they're gonna have to bank on getting lucky, so I don't think they should have kids. And one of the things that a lot of my friends have told me over the years is that I'm probably going to develop like schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder or something like that because of like how I am when I'm around my family versus how I am in real life. Most people say how I am in real life and they mean their family and then how they mean outside, but for me it's different. And it's weird because when I was in Sunday school, when we were seniors in the class, so that would be 8th grade, I remember the principal came in one day. Now, as you may have guessed, being forced to go to Sunday school and church and what have you, I spent a lot of that time sleeping because I didn't care. I didn't really want to do any of that or learn any of that, so I just didn't care. And I spent a lot of Sunday school sleeping. And this one time, near the end of Sunday school, I remember our principal came in, the principal of Sunday school, comes into our classroom, and he comes in and he yells at us. And he's yelling about how the end of every Sunday school class, somebody's been going into the bathroom and flooding it. Like they had like the old-fashioned stand-up urinals that are like, they're not on the wall. Well, they're against the wall, but they go down into the floor. And somebody had been flushing them a whole bunch of times so that the whole bathroom was flooded at the end of every Sunday school class. And the principal came in and he started yelling at us, and he's like, if I find out who did this, blah, 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 you'd be expelled, blah, blah, you never graduate, and whatever. And I was like, whatever. And I went back to sleep. And the next thing I know, I'm awake. My shoes are wet. I've got my hand on one of the urinal things, and I have no recollection of getting there. I don't remember any of it at all. Just my shoes are wet. I got my hand on the plunger thing on the urinal, and my two friends are with me. One of them is the principal's son, and one of them is our other friend. And I look down. My shoes are wet. I look at them. I have my hand on the plunger. They also have their hand on plungers, and they're flushing furiously. I look at them, and I'm like, "Hey guys, what are we doing?" And they're like, "We're flooding the bathroom like we do every week." And I'm like, wait, what? What? Like what? It's been us? Yeah, we do this every week. It's our thing. After class, we come to the bathroom and we flush all the urinal. And I'm like, what? You do know what and what now? Huh? What? It's me? Like, well, they're like, well, I mean, it's us, but yeah, you help. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And so I don't think I need to worry about, developing a split personality or what have you, because I apparently have one. Or I'm a really, really convincing sleepwalker.
Hey there, guys and gals. Thanks so much for watching, as always. If you click the link on the left, you'll be taken to the previous video. If you click the link on the right, you'll be taken to a playlist where you can watch them all. Isn't it amazing how it's so easy to remember someone for doing something bad? But God forbid they do something good. You might as well just remove them from the story altogether.